My name is Michael Brown. I'm the owner of Footprints Floors, Macon, Middle Georgia. I was in logistics leadership prior to joining Footprints Floors. I ran big box distribution centers. My last job was I was a director of distribution for a large cold storage distribution chain. What led me to leave and start my own business it was several factors that culminated in the fact that I was prioritizing work over family. My 40th birthday, I completely missed it. My oldest son's first steps, first words, I completely missed those. And I had two young children that were coming up, and I saw the same pattern repeating itself with them, and I had to draw a line someplace. I do believe it's because he really truly cares, not just about business, but about people. He's willing to do anything it takes to ensure that you are successful and that you're happy and that you have balance, in your life. The customer service representatives are great because of our growth. I'm on my third one, and their willingness to work with me on a day-to-day basis and my availability, both respecting my time and my customers' time, has been huge. All of my customers believe that that the CSRs work out of the same office I do. So the fact that they are that professional has really given me an advantage in that, at the surface level for a customer, they truly believe that it's a small business that I'm working directly with my CSR every day. The customer service representatives help generate new business by actively following up on various forms of leads, whether it's Google, Facebook, direct leads from Home Advisor, Angie's List, Thumbtack, Porch, and their timeliness and follow-up and willingness to reach out to me immediately if there's a question or concern regarding scheduling and my availability, so that it works out and lines up with my homeowner's availability, is huge in showing that I can be flexible and that we're that responsive. Without a doubt, my customer service representatives save me loads of time each and every day, as far as I can't be available to answer the phone every single time it rings. I'm not available to answer a Facebook question. I'm not picking up on my website inquiries. I can't do that. I'm in the truck most of the day. I'm with customers. I'm with homeowners. I'm with potential homeowners. And the fact that I have that support from that customer service representatives is huge in allowing me time to actually be in the field working with homeowners and drumming up potential business and sales. So my customer service representatives are highly aware of what my personal schedule is. It's a lot of two-way open communication to ensure that there's no overlaps in what your personal priorities are versus what your open schedule is. If you communicate to your CSR, for instance, that you want to, or customer service representative, for instance, that you are wanting to ensure that you're at home by 5 o'clock every day to take your kid to soccer practice, you're going to be home every day by 5 o'clock to take your kid to soccer practice. If there's customers out there that absolutely need an after 5 o'clock appointment, they'll reach out to you and make sure that you are available for those times. And if not, your customer service representative will circle back and work with you to see what you could do to be flexible. And if not, then it is what it is. What really was intimidating at the beginning was, not just taking on my own business, getting to know the Footprints Floors franchise, getting to know the industry in general, and basically the uncertainty of not knowing what I didn't already know. Oh, now I'm totally comfortable. The support I've gotten through the whole franchise has been instrumental in how much I feel like I've grown personally in my business. It's almost doubled year over year compared to last year. So I'm completely comfortable at this point. Initially, I was a little bit apprehensive with vetting and finding new contractors. However, when I was in my first week of technical training, I put a Craigslist ad out there. The template was already out there. Started getting those leads, started getting names, started asking the questions, was able to go to the Footprints forum and make sure I was asking the right types of questions, telling me the right things to look for with a contractor, red flags to look for my subcontractors. So that apprehension went away pretty quickly. Once I got started, it really became easy to find, the subcontractors that I could count on that were going to be reliable, dependable, and knew what they were doing, versus the Chuck in a truck or the Dan in a van that you find out there a lot of times that our homeowners have been burned by. So everything we've done so far as finding subcontractors has been excellent. When I posted my first leads or my first Craigslist ads, the response rate was somewhat slow. My area is a little bit unique, and it's geographically it's very expansive. So when I first started, I went from say a half a dozen leads, and as I got better at posting my Craigslist ads and basically my wanted signs for new subcontractors, I got a little bit more savvy on how I made those ads. So I would hit my larger geographic regions in my territory versus one broad sweeping lead or Craigslist ad. I spread it out throughout had several in different geographic regions of my territory. For my business, it spreads out liability and ownership. Working with subcontractors, it does give me a little bit more flexibility, and I don't necessarily have to, carry the workers' compensation insurance. I don't have to worry about them actually being an employee of Footprints Floors, Macon. They're their own employee, so I don't have to carry health benefits for them, which we all know how expensive health benefits are. So that's a huge benefit, as well as the fact that they do have some level of ownership for their performance. So for my journey to Footprints Floors, ultimately at the beginning I was going through a consultant. I had narrowed a list of 20-something franchises down to 3. I was getting really close to going on Discovery Day, and I went back and I kind of talked to the consultant, and I talked to a couple of the owners at Footprints Floors during the validation calls. So I started getting a little bit excited. However, it's that nervous excitement where you're kind of cautiously optimistic. So on the flight to Denver, my wife and I were sitting there, and it's like, hey, are we really ready to stroke that big check? And we both talked about it a little bit, the pros and cons, and the fact that I wanted to run my own business. I knew I wanted to run my own business, but was Footprints Floors the right one? That was a legitimate question at the time, because I didn't have any experience and background in flooring. So we had a laundry list of questions when we showed up to Denver. During our Discovery Day, we were lucky enough to get to spend time with Brian Park, the founder, quite a lot of time with Brian Park, the founder, and he covered basically every question we had. I don't think, recalling back and reflecting back on that visit, I don't think there was a question that he didn't answer before we could ask it. So my wife is sitting in the back seat of the car. She's like checking off questions as we go. And we were both just kind of nervous about it, the whole thing lining up, because it's a stroking a pretty big check. And but we went through that day, and we spent the first half with Brian Park, the founder, and the Fort Collins owner, Aaron Benedict, was the second half of our day. And by the time we got done that evening, we went out to dinner in Denver. I knew 100% that we were making the right call. If if they felt about me the way I felt about the franchise, because after that Discovery Day, I had no doubt. I went from total, not skepticism, but just that worry at the beginning. Am I making the right move? Into complete confidence, that if we went forward, we were making the right decision. And I'll tell you, a little bit better than a year on from being in operation, we 100% made the right decision. For me, starting this franchise and being part of the Footprints Floors family has been huge as far as my work-life balance. Previously, I was in corporate logistics roles, 14 to 16-hour days, hour and a half commutes, led for very long days, and I have a very young family. My oldest son is 8 years old now, wasn't when I started, and I had an eye-opening moment when he woke me up, or came in while I was getting ready at 4 o'clock in the morning to go to work because I haven't seen him in a couple weeks. So now I take him to school every day. I pick him up from school several days a week. I don't miss any milestones with my two youngest children, and that was never the case in my previous logistics life. So life with my family now that I'm a Footprints franchise owner, on a personal level, is significantly better. My son and I have nice conversations every day on the way to school. My twins, every once in a while, I'll take a day off and pick the twins up early from school, and we'll hang out, for an afternoon. My wife is able to even maintain more personal balance in her life because she's not stressed out about being home with the children all the time because I'm there. I can be a true partner, versus she was a working spouse, but she couldn't focus 100% on her career because she was having to focus more on the family because I was absent due to the demands of my job. I think it's very important to have a conversation with current Footprints Floors owners prior to making the decision. You can get a feel for their everyday life, so you know what a day in the life looks like, and two, to see what the excitement is around what they're doing. So I spoke with several different owners, some that had been with Footprints from the very beginning, others who were fairly new at the time, and the overall message I got was, go for it. It was everybody was excited and happy about what they were doing, and that speaks volumes. The perks of joining Footprints Floors franchise and getting out of that corporate grind of working for an established corporation would definitely be your work-life balance, the fact that you can enjoy your quality of life. As long as you do what the franchise lays out and tells you to, you're going to be successful. You're going to make compensation better than what you had before. And that, you get to do things you never really got to do. You control your own schedule. So you set your priorities. The harder you work, the more money you're going to make. You got to find that balance. For me, working on a Saturday is sitting out by the pool, watching my kids on the laptop. You can't beat it.